Hey guys, it's Georgia. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If y'all are new here, welcome to my YouTube channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be taking a square piggy bank I found at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to be getting rid of some of the fancy stuff that they put on it, and I'm going to be painting the SquidWard picture when he's like a homeless artist, I think, where he's sitting there with the can in his hand asking for spare change. So I'm just going to be painting that on the back of this piggy bank, and if you guys like it, please let me know down in the comments below, because this is something I could totally add to my Etsy shop if you guys wanted to be able to purchase it. But yeah, let's get right into it. So this is the piggy bank that I'm going to be deconstructing to fix up. Like I said, it literally is just a square frame looking piggy bank. Just opening that up and starting to deconstruct it, just taking the backing off. The back comes off similarly to a frame where you unhinge it, just pull it, and same with that cardboard. The glass part does not come out, so I'm just putting that piece of cardboard in the back to remove the white from the inside, but make sure I'm able to get it all since my background is white, and just going through that with a little plastic thumb scraper that's used for, like, I use it to pick up like old like wax and soap scum, stuff like that, but just sort of scraping off where it says Mermaid Fun, since that does not match the picture of SquidWard that I'm using. I could not really get the paint off very well, so just going in with a couple Lysol wipes to try and get all of the dust out. And now that that's done, I can start painting the background. So I'm just going to be doing a plain base white coat like I do with all of my painting projects, just to get rid of all those little scalies, so I have a nice clean lines to work with. And for reference, this is the picture that I'm drawing here, and I'm just trying to get that picture onto the canvas in a way. Working a lot with making sure I had all the right dimensions, which didn't go perfectly well the first time, which is why there's a lot of erasing, lots of redrawing, lots of changing the line shape. But at the end of the day, I do think I got a pretty decent design, especially since I wasn't able to use tracing paper, put it up, have anything reflected on it, while I had the like thing to look at for reference. I didn't really have anything to trace with. But with that all done, I can go in and start painting. So for this project, I do want it to look like the correct scene, look like SquidWard, look like the box, look like it would in SpongeBob, but I didn't want to go and buy any special fancy paint, so I'm just using what I have that was close enough. So using this nice light teal to paint SquidWard. I made sort of this blue. I just used like a dark royal navy blue and added a little bit of gray to give it a little bit of a more muted texture, and just painting over his sweatshirt with that. I did the same thing with the green. I used a very normal, like just bright green, and just added a little bit of gray to make it a better color. For his tentacles, I am using this pretty deep periwinkle color just as the background. I'm going to add more detail later. This color is called Vanilla. I really do like it, but I'm matching the eyes to the casts here because they're both white, but I didn't want to use plain white because it gets very dirty. A nice deep red for the inside of the mouth and the eyeballs, and on the outside, because in this scene he's been homeless, so he has like a little stubble. Outside it's just this peach color. I end up using the same color for the box, but this is just because it's supposed to show that he wouldn't have been able to shave, and a nice deep gray for the can that he would get spare change in. And after that, I realized that I didn't finish drawing the inside, so just adding a couple lines so there is some form of dimension to the inside of the box, and it's not just a square. After that's done, going in with round 2, just again going over the blue for this sort of coat of paint. I didn't go as careful because at this point I realized I would much rather have lines that weren't exactly how I had drawn them in pencil than to have a line of white right next to an ink line or in between the color, something like that. So this was just going to make it a lot more even, make sure that it was as bold and bright as possible. But like I said, just going through all of the colors, everything that I'd already painted, just going over them to make his character as bright as possible before moving on. getting anything but details. I did a lot of details when I go later in with ink, so this was just to get nice bright color, and I think I did a pretty decent job, and you can still tell what it is supposed to be. This white was giving me a lot of trouble, especially because I had originally drawn lines of where I was going to draw lines for the casts, but decided I would just make my own once I restarted with the ink. So I had to paint over a lot of that because it looked very dingy with the gray from the pencil mixing in with that. After I did that second coat of purple for his tentacles, I used this somewhat fuchsia color for what would be the suction cup on his tentacles to show his toes or whatever those would be or are called. And once I did that, Squidward himself was pretty much done. So I'm going in on the background. The background is made of 3 different colors of brown. So this one is clearly the deepest brown. Just did a little bit of a gray with my basic brown color just to give it a little bit better coverage. And just going through that, making sure I can get it everywhere so that I see that my lines are all clean before cleaning up the actual color, just so that I know I don't need to change anything after that. Once that side was done, the back wall and the floor are this sort of mid-level brown. This one was very, very streaky. It was very thin. I'm not sure why. It was the same brand as most of my other paints, but it was just very thin and difficult to use. So this one I had to make quite thick to make sure it was working. And for the outside, using my favorite brown, that nice little tan color, just doing the opening of the box right now, not focused on the outside and the background, so just making sure that what would be the flaps on the box once they were open up are all the same color and are nice, thick, and even, and the lines of everything are as straight as possible. Once I finished going in to get the color down and making a little bit of a mess, I did go in over anything with him with a nice small paintbrush, and then went over everything else with this bigger paintbrush that was square so I could get clean lines, because yes, I am going to be drawing lines over it to clean up edges, but I wanted to make sure it was square beforehand so I wasn't having wobbly edges. This little mid-brown part was probably the hardest part to keep straight because there was so small of it that wasn't directly attached to him. So this one I did sort of have to just trust that it was going to look how I pictured in my head. For the outer flaps, I ended up just using this big square brush because they were almost fully geometric except for right where you can see him holding the cup out. So it was very easy to just go straight along the line and get it as straight and flat as possible. It was just going to be a lot simpler than making a line with the thin paintbrush. So I was just using that one to get any little detail work. Once I finished this section, I was able to go in on the background. So for the start of the background, I'm doing that side of the box where it says up, but it's upside down. Just using the same color as I did for the other parts of the box that are deemed outside in the light that they would be in. Using that nice tan color, but making it nice, deep, and bold, trying to use the square brush as much as possible so the lines are nice and flat so I don't need to redo them. With that done, going in with the same red that I used for his pupils and for the inside of his mouth to do the upward and the little upside down arrow, just because those are supposed to be red and I didn't want anything too bright. In the picture, as you guys saw, he's like up against a building and in an alley, but I didn't want to make a whole big background for this little tiny part, so I just did the same blue that I used for his jacket and just made the background so it looks somewhat like the back of a building in Bikini Bottom. And then on the bottom just used a very, very, very light brown color to make something that looks somewhat like sand. I will go in a minute to make it look even more like sand than just the color. But once I had all of that down, painted, ready, it was finally time for me to start going in with the ink to make it as fine as possible. So just going in with a Sharpie, because anytime I've used a like just black paintbrush to clean up lines. They end up getting very thick, inconsistent, so this was just a nice, easy way I could make sure they looked how I expected. Starting with all of the flat geometric lines first, since those would be the easiest to do, and just going around the whole thing. This is where I could really see it start to become a cartoon, was when I added all of the lines, because you can see all the detail, everything where it was in the original drawing. You can see it really somewhat come to life. So just going around all of his clothes, going around his main attributes, stuff like that, making sure it does look as close to the original as possible, and that all lines and parts of the body are separated so you can see all the details. After I finished with this thick one, I wanted to go in and give him those little circles around his suction cups on his feet. And like I said before, this particular picture, he's homeless and doesn't have anything to use to shave, a little stressed, so I'm just adding his worry line with the marker, and I added a couple bits of stubble, also dotting the sand to make it look a lot more like sand. With all the ink done, just using some Mod Podge, I believe I used the just sort of original glossy satin one for this, since it's not going to be directly touching anything, and the cardboard is a little softer, so it is very unlikely that it'll chip. And with that, the actual painting part of this is finished. It's still very foldable, still very easy to use, so now I can put it together, making sure that the top matches up with where the hole at the top for coins is, and putting the back in, and now I think that is ready. This was not a very hard customization in a way. It was quite simple, since I was just copying a picture from something else, but it was very relaxing, and it was something fun to do, and I think that it is a lot more fun than just saying mermaid fun like it did before. I think that the teal glitter does match the picture on the inside, because SquidWard himself is teal, but I really do hope you guys like it. If you did, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on all my other social medias down below, as well as my Etsy and Mercari there if you want to buy something that was featured in a video or could be featured in a different video. And yeah, let me know if you guys like these, because I could easily tweak how I did it and make them to sell on Etsy. But I hope you guys did enjoy it, and have a good day. Bye!